Hi everyone, my name is Sheyi Obasi. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you so much.
Today I have a guest with me who has a very touching story about moving to Canada recently. And I met her, and she has one of the most inspiring stories that I've heard of people moving to Canada. So I invited her to come tell us her story, especially to encourage those of us who have started losing hope about being able to relocate to Canada. She has asked to be anonymous for personal reasons, so she's going to be anonymous, but don't worry whether you see her face or know her name. It's not very important. The most important thing is that you're going to learn one or two things from her experience. So, Miss Anonymous, I'm going to call you Miss Anonymous. Thank you for joining us today. You're very welcome.
Thank you for having me.
Okay, so I want to start your story from when you tried to go to the UK. I know you told me that you made efforts to go to the UK to study, I think, and that didn't work out. Can you tell us briefly your experience with that?
Okay, I always desired to actually leave the shores of Nigeria. I actually dreamed Canada. Canada was, being my dream and all. But when I look at Canada, it just looked like something, that was impossible to go to. So UK was the next big thing because, everybody kept saying it was easier going to the UK. And you're looking at a lady who didn't have, who had nothing in her pocket. And how do I go to the UK? So I had uncles, my father's younger brothers. They all live in the US, and I reached out to them with one of the most touching, message. I sent them messages, via their WhatsApp, and I told them I had graduated well in school. I wasn't, I was focused. I wasn't the kind of person who wasted opportunities. But one of the things I told them was, instead of you always giving my dad money, why don't you teach one of us how to fish? A way to support my family. I asked them for a particular amount of money that I could use to pay for my school fees and also transport myself to the UK. But at the end of the day, I didn't hear any response from them, and that was it. So it just I actually went as far as actually applying for some UK schools, but when I didn't hear any response from my father, from my father's brothers, and in fact, I just got discouraged. There was no need, pursuing what was. It felt like, you're looking at a mango tree, but you can't touch the mangoes. So there was no need pursuing that. So that's actually my UK story. Yeah.
I guess that's amazing, and a lot of people actually have that problem of starting and meeting with an obstacle and giving up. So, I mean, the UK didn't work out. So, how did you now switch to Canada eventually?
Okay, I had a friend. It was actually her husband. Every time, then I used to work in Port Harcourt. Every time he comes to Port Harcourt, he'll say, "Why don't you try Canada? Canada has an express entry program." And I went as far as going through express entry, but every time he tells me this, I tell him, "How do I get proof of funds? Where do I start from?" Of course, for me to start express entry, I need to have proof of funds.
Exactly.
But he kept telling me, "Why don't you just start from the first step of taking IELTS? After all, people take it a lot of times and they don't even make it. What do you have to lose? Why don't you take the exam?" But I kept looking at the obstacle. There was actually the proof of funds. Where do I get it? So he kept telling me, every time he comes around, sometimes he calls me up and says, "Why don't you try Canada?" So he went as far as giving me half of the IELTS fee and told me to make it up and take that exam. So when I saw support, I just said, after all, what do I have to lose? I registered for IELTS. It was actually, I paid in January 2021 and I registered to take the exam in March.
Okay.
And I started preparing, but I was working in the restaurant then. It was, it was not so easy for me to prepare So when it was getting to the period of March, I had to take a 5-day leave. You understand, to actually write study for the exams and also take the exam.
Yeah.
So in April, to my shock, because to me, I just said, what do I have to do? After all, I should get ready to take it again. To my shock, I saw my results, and it was, and then I will pray. I said, God, please. Though even when I was praying, I was like, where you go find? Where will you get proof of fund? Where will you get proof of fund? So to my shock, reading, listening, writing, speaking, I passed it. At least I hit like speaking, writing 7.7. Then reading was 7.5. Then listening was 8.8. And that was how I was really shocked. I was like, Jesus, is this my result? I didn't even prepare as much as I would want to. Wow. And that same night, I called my sponsor. I told him I've passed. I remember him telling me immediately, come on, immediately, enter the pool. Wow. And he was like, just enter the pool. And that was it. I entered the pool. My score was 458. 458. It sounded very funny because I'm looking at people. 2021, it was quite competitive,
Yes.
I was looking at people who had 500, 490, 480, and I was at 458. Then I'll always make this prayer. I will say, God, please let 458 take me to Canada. That was my prayer. I go to Streams of Joy in Nigeria. Then Pastor Jerry, 7 a.m. when I'm praying, I'll just say, God, 458 will take me to Canada. I'll pray this prayer and I will laugh at that prayer because I felt in my mind, like I was not even prepared enough or qualified enough to go to Canada because people were better than me. So I thought about the option of, okay, why don't I try French? So that once, actually I was waiting for the draw, the federal draws. I never even imagined that provincial nominals, the PMP would favor me.
Yeah.
I thought about French. I started going for French classes. I paid the first month. I paid the second month. Just kept going because my plan was actually to take in January 2023 to take TEF. So prepare myself for federal draws. So I was like, okay, if I can't make TEF, I could at least get 50 points to add to 458, and then I'll be at 508. That was my plan.
Okay.
So as God will have it, one day walking from work, and I was worried. I was like, God, I'm tired of where I am. I really am tired of where I'm working. I just want a supernatural turnaround. I didn't like the situation at home. I didn't like where my family was at. I remember walking down from work July 27th, 2022. And that was it. That was how, no, July 27th, 2021. And that was how I came back home. I opened my email and there it was, a mail from IROCC. You've been selected by Ontario because of your NOC. And you have 45 days to respond. If you're interested, please respond to us. If you're not, we assume, if you don't respond within 45 days, we assume you're not interested. And it felt like a dream. I was like, I don't understand how. 458, how? So there was a group that was in on WhatsApp. I asked them, does IRCC send me? I didn't know that was how PMP works. Yeah. I thought you enter the pool and you get a letter from the portal, Express Entry portal. People there kept saying, na scam, na scam. But deep down, I was like, scam, as in like, okay, I just said fine. I think I ignored it. So later in the night, some people now responded and said, oh, Ontario also invited me. And that's when my eyes opened. And that was the beginning of it. So if I still tell you, I even when I kept saying Ontario, and I researched, Ontario drew for restaurant managers, and they started exactly from 458.
58. Wow.
And the rest is history. That's why I'm here. So.
Wow, that is such an amazing story. I always tell people that prayer has a very big part to play in this relocation to Canada, because it's not, you cannot influence visa officer, you cannot influence the draws, you cannot influence the scores. You just have to turn to your God, whichever God you're serving, and start asking for favor. And that's, I mean, what happens. It's starting at that 458, which is exactly what you were praying for.
Exactly.
It's actually a miracle. Yes, starting at 458. So of course, you still had that issue of proof of funds, which I know is an issue that a lot of people have, especially your own, even just yourself. Some people are with family, they need more proof of funds. How were you able to tackle that proof of funds? Like how many, and how many days did you have to leave it in your account? I think people also ask that question. How can they just get the proof of funds immediately and use it immediately? Stuff like that.
Okay, I got my actually my uncles who never really were willing to help then.
Mm-hmm.
When I actually got the invitation from Ontario, my daddy never believed me. He said it was a lie. Yeah, he has never seen a country, knock on your doorsteps to give you,
Yeah.
I'm telling him, this is real, this is real, this is real. So he got he didn't believe me. He just said, okay, fine, for the love of, for the fact that you're just disturbing me. So he went as far as helping me to tell my uncles the matter on the ground, and they all came together and raised my proof of funds. So I actually never touched immediately it got into my account, it was not touched.
Yeah.
I didn't touch it. I never did till I crossed the shores of Canada. So I didn't pull it out or pull it in, or I never did. It was just there. It just laid there till I crossed the shores of Canada. So that was just it. So this same uncle.
Okay, great. Did you have to write a letter of explanation for how you got the proof of funds? How long was it in your account before you now submitted your application for permanent residence?
Okay, I think it was there for over a year, because when I got it, when I got my proof of, I submitted. Okay, I really can't recall the dates, but I know that I submitted in September. I submitted to Ontario in September. So by then I had gotten my proof of funds and all. I had to, because they gifted it to my dad.
They gifted it, okay.
So my dad had to gift it to me. So I had to write a letter of explanation. You understand? Saying that it was a gift deed for my father. So he drafted the letter and I notarized it in court. And submitted it to the Ontario government, which was accepted.
Okay.
I didn't touch it. What I did was I put it in the mutual funds, you understand?
Okay,
because so that it doesn't really deplete. It doesn't decrease.
Please, yeah, so that it was even adding value.
Yeah, it added a little value to it. So I didn't want the idea of, because at the point mutual funds changed. Actually, my story is actually a very funny one. I didn't, when they changed the proof of funds, there was a time in 2021 they changed proof of funds.
Yes, they changed.
Yes. They changed. I didn't change mine. I changed it, but I forgot to transmit it.
Yeah, that's transmission.
So immediately, exactly. Immediately, my portal closed. They actually terminated my portal because I didn't. And this portal that closed had my invitation from Ontario. And this thing happened on my birthday, by 12 a.m. on my birthday. That was my birthday present from IRCC. So I didn't know. In fact, I know I was in shock. I was in tears. I was shaking. What do I do? I never actually told I didn't even tell my parents. I just told my sister. So I had a lady who actually called to wish me a happy birthday. She was also doing this Canada thing too, because she was going to Saks. So immediately I told her, I think I was weeping on the phone. She said, you hold yourself together, bring out your laptop, immediately 8 a.m., send a mail to Ontario. So I was shaking. I drafted my mail. I told Ontario, look at the mistake I did. I updated it, but I didn't transmit it.
Yeah.
yeah, so Ontario said, okay, fine, we'll give you a chance, but you have to prove to us that you did all this. You have to prove to us, sure. So I had to go snap the pictures of, the old express entry number I had. I had to tell them this is what I did. I prayed. I just kept praying. Wrote a letter to them, like, pleading and telling them, please. I did it. I forgot to transmit it. And to my shock, that was how they actually took in my application, and that's how I succeeded. I passed through the state level, and they gave me my 600 points.
Wow.
So as much as you understand, it wasn't a funny 1 year for me. You had joy, and all of a sudden your
And then all of
your
a
heart is already
sudden,
beating. Yeah, and you're telling, how do I tell my parents that, I told them that this was working, and I'm telling them that I was flunked out. So it was a very funny one. So when I saw Ontario said you've been nominated, it was shocking, because I was happy when I was given that invitation. Then all of a sudden I lost it.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, I can imagine. Must have been very traumatic. Yeah. Oh my God. Funny enough, I was speaking to somebody today that was telling me that she updated though, but the thing is not sure. I said you need to transmit. You need to transmit, and I know that happens to people.
Yeah.
Some people also, when the funds change for funds, some people lost their profile. Even though someone who lost didn't see her letter or something, letter they sent, and then some people, unlike you, will not even have anybody to tell them to calm down. You can always explain. These people send an explanation, they would listen. You understand? After all, that the people that invited you in the first place, they will always listen. Wow, thank God for you. That's such an inspiring story. So so you've been in Canada for a few months now as a permanent resident. How would you say that experience has been so far?
Oh, it is a beautiful one. You understand? I wouldn't say Canada is a perfect place. It has its disadvantages too, but it's way better than Nigeria. Okay, one thing I know about the country here is it has a lot of opportunities.
Yeah.
In Nigeria, you're fixed to a place. You're like, oh, without this, I can't survive. But here, you can survive, even though you don't have a job and you want to explore any route. You're open to doing that. Mind you, it's not a perfect country. It has its own, cons, but it is an amazing place to be. It truly is.
Yeah. So I'm really interested in when you talked about taking time off to do that IELTS. I know a lot of people are so scared of that exam. I really don't know why. And I always tell people, if you put, like, the first time I did IELTS, I think I had an average of 8.5. You understand? Because I knew that this is not a joke. I prepared for it every single day. You understand? So do you have any particular tips for those who are going to write this exam and are so scared of it?
I believe you can. Don't be scared, as in you can do it. I used E2 language. He helped me.
Very beautiful, Liz. Yeah, E2 language. No, E2 language, not Liz. E2 language is a guy from Australia or something. Yeah.
Yeah. So he's really, really good.
Yes.
So I took a lot of YouTube videos. I watched a lot of them, and just take a time off.
Yes.
Go somewhere, lock yourself up, and study.
Yes.
It is an easy to fail, exam, but it can be passable, but it's easy. You can easily fail it. It's English language. Don't say, oh, it's just English language. No, it's not just English language. You need to understand the tricks. You need to understand the way to write the essays. Every essay has a guide. You need to understand the way they also ask their listening questions, the reading questions. So you have to take time off to prepare. Take time. Then I remember I didn't prepare as much as I would want to. You understand? I didn't do that. But I remember writing down the steps for every essay.
Yeah.
I wrote them down in a paper, even when it was in the exam, when I was waiting for the exam to start, before we were actually, walked into the room. I remember looking at all those different essays. How do you write them? The guidelines. How do you write this essay? How do you write this essay in case this one comes? So prepare hard, and you will pass. Prepare hard. As in, the money is not actually, a small amount. You understand? It's actually a huge amount. So get angry at the fact that you're paying so much, and give it your best. You'll pass. You'll pass. Yeah.
Prepare as if, I always tell people, prepare as if your life depends on it. Yeah. And that's how, personally, that's how I prepare for things. So, as if my life depends on it. And that's the way to go after the IELTS. And like she said, it is passable. It's easy to fail. It's also easy to pass. But preparation is like the key. Anybody ask me how to pass IELTS, prepare. Just prepare. Take practice tests. You get used to it. So when you are in the exam, I mean, you already know, you have an idea of what's going to come and how you're going to tackle it. Okay, so one other thing I want to ask is, I see a lot of people when it comes to preparing, maybe filling forms or preparing for express entry or PNP or anything that has to do with immigration, they are scared. They're always looking for somebody to run it for them, so to speak, to do it for them. And I know that you did this all by yourself, yeah? You didn't need to use an agent and all that. So it is absolutely possible, right, for someone to do it on their own without an agent. It's not as if you were refused for missing out on one document. It's actually easy to follow the guidelines. And can actually easily make it. So guys,
YouTube was my friend.
Oh, YouTube has everything.
YouTube, okay. How to enter an express entry profile. So I watched YouTube and I followed that was how I entered. So YouTube is your friend, Instagram is your friend too, and people who are already there, they're your friends.
Who are already in Canada,
you can do it yourself,
exactly.
You can do it yourself,
exactly. You can do it yourself, and if you are confused, you can have someone who has already been through the process. If somebody has already walked the road and you are walking it, it's so easy to ask the person now, how did you navigate this? How did you navigate? Instead of trying to figure it out on your own. I mean, some people are so brave that they try and figure it out on your own. And that's what the Canada Express Entry Masterclass is. It is a guide. Canada Express Entry Masterclass takes you by the hand, shows you how to create an express entry profile and also how to submit your application after you've received your invitation to apply. Remember that in the express entry pool, you can be picked by a province. Just like our guest has said, she wasn't even thinking of the provincial nomination. She was thinking about the federal express entry, but then she was picked by a province. And then there are so many stories of people being picked from the pool by a province, especially when you have indicated that I want to go to all the provinces. You don't say that you want to go to only Ontario or you want to go to only BC. You've indicated all the provinces. You don't know what might happen. So if you need any guidance, any help, you can get our Express Entry Masterclass. It's very detailed, it's step by step. It's also very affordable. It will take you by the hand from creating your profile, like I said before, up until the point where you are able to submit your application, and will give you tips, strategies, templates that you can copy and model and use. So I want to really appreciate you, our guest. Thank you for taking the time to come and share your experience with us. It is very touching. And I know that there are people out there who are probably, they started this year with a lot of hopes of coming to Canada, or maybe they even started last year, or maybe they've been duped by an agent, or maybe they've been duped, discouraged by something or someone. Please just pick yourself up. Canada is a beautiful place. Like she said, it's not heaven, but it is better than where we came from. You'd rather be here, you'd rather raise your family here than staying back where you are. So if it's something that you really need to do, something that is your heart's desire, I would encourage you to pursue that goal, okay, and pursue your dream. So thank you so much for stopping by. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe to my channel, drop a comment for us. What kind of videos do you want to see? What do you think about our guests and her experience? Do you have anything to tell us? Go ahead and drop a comment, like the video, and subscribe to my channel. And I'm going to see you in the next video. Thank you very much, and talk to you later.